Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 79 of the Brunch and
Oh,
Judge.
creeping up to 100.
We're getting there. I
We
I believe
are.
we'll get there. I believe in us. So cool,
We
cool.
will. We will.
So, welcome to this week's episode. This week we'll be talking about cults. And when I say we, I mean us, your hosts, because I'm going to remember this week. We are your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And welcome to the cultiest, culty conversation you'll find anywhere else. I don't know.
We take our
But
cults seriously.
we do. I love cult weeks because I go on really dark, deep dives and then I am like, huh.
Yeah, we're like, oh.
Like, oh God.
That's why we have to split them up into 2 episodes.
Every damn time. Can't help it. Like I have just pages and pages of
No,
notes. So I'm
always.
like, whatever.
Always.
Sorry guys. But
Always.
before we get into the good culty things,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
what are you judging this week?
OMG.
OMG.
OMG. So, if you're not local to Kentucky, you may or may not have heard about this. This was a big damn deal. It kind of went national. First day of school was this like last Wednesday because it's Monday right now. Um, not here where I live in Hardin County, but up north in Jefferson County. Have you heard about this?
Oh, in
Have you heard
Louisville,
about the shit
yes.
show that
Oh
was the
gosh,
first?
it did make national news. That's how I heard about it first. Then I went on Facebook and
It
went,
was
"Damn." It's
it was
hilarious.
the first day of school. I'm judging JCPS, the Jefferson County Public School System, and their bus fiasco
Mm-hmm.
shit show
Mm-hmm.
that
Wow.
it was.
As if the first day of school isn't traumatic enough.
Right. So for those of you who may not have heard, um, the first day of school, um, in Jefferson County is one of the largest school systems, if
Mm-hmm.
not the largest in Kentucky.
I think it is
I
the
think it is. I
largest
think
in
it is the
Kentucky, yeah.
largest in the state because it does encompass Louisville. But they implemented a new start time thing this year, and I don't know that that had anything to do with it per se.
Spoiler, it
May
does
may not.
not, but keep going.
Yeah, well, people may think it does, but I don't
I know.
think it
Spoiler, it really
did.
doesn't.
No,
But keep going.
but many things changed this year. They implemented a new start time stagger system where some schools started like as early as I don't know, like 7:30, 7:45,
Mm-hmm.
all the way staggering all the way to like 9-ish,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in there because they have a shortage of bus drivers. And I've heard that they decided to consolidate from like 750 routes down to 600.
Damn.
Yeah, that I heard that on the news. And I've also heard that um, they got MIT to come up with a program for their navigation system on the bus to do the routes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but as with engineers, it's good on paper, but when you implement it in a real world setting, it's shit
Uh-huh.
because it didn't account for traffic. It didn't account for
Sorry.
the shit show construction that is Kentucky right now.
They didn't account for traffic. It's literally the whole
No.
point of the maps, really, and routes and things.
Right, right.
The,
Because I don't know
it's
if you all
Louisville,
know
guys.
anything about Louisville. Louisville is a shit show within itself with the
Oh,
traffic because yeah, yeah. But
oh.
right now, all of Kentucky, I really feel at this point, or at least this side of the state that I'm on, like 65 is a dumpster
Mhm.
fire. E Town is a dumpster fire
It
with
all is.
construction.
It's construction
Louisville
season.
is a dumpster fire with construction. Like
Mm-hmm.
these people did not take any of that into consideration either.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that. Um, like I said, short of the bus drivers. I did hear that going to school, some students were over 2 hours late.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it is, going to school, like some parents drop their students off. So going to school, there's not as many students going to school as the buses are taking home. But taking the students home is where the real problem was. So taking the students home, um, some students got on the wrong buses, and instead of these buses turning around to take the students back to the school, they just dropped them off wherever.
What?
There were yes,
They just
there
dropped
was
them. That's okay.
yes,
All
there
right.
were stories. There were stories on the news and on Facebook about buses just dropping these kids off on street corners in the wrong neighborhoods, like elementary school kids.
Oh my God.
Yes, like adults were saying that they saw these buses just drop these kids off and kids are crying and they're getting in their backpacks and they see like their addresses and stuff and they're trying to get back in touch with the schools.
Mm-hmm.
These kids' parents, they're dropping kids off in the wrong neighborhoods. Some students were just stuck at school because with the stagger start times, the stagger getting out of school, but these buses were so late
Mm-hmm.
getting other students home that they were not back in time to
To
take
pick up
other
and
students
yeah.
home on
Oh
their routes.
God.
So students were just stuck at school. So some of these students ate lunches at like 11 o'clock and they didn't get any food after that. They
Mm-hmm.
just ate like at 11 and 12 and then they're stuck at school until 5 and 6 o'clock and didn't
Yeah.
get any food or anything like that. And so there were all these nightmare stories. Parents didn't know where their children were. They were calling the cops because they thought their children had been kidnapped. They had no
Fair.
idea.
Fair.
But the last student, as far as like the buses were concerned, the last student was dropped off at 9:58 p.m.
Oh
And
my
that was
God.
reported. Yeah, that was reported on the news. So the 11 o'clock news came on and they were like, the last student was dropped off an hour ago.
Yeah.
That very first day of school. And you're just like, what is happening?
No one thought about
Also,
doing a trial run. I love that.
yeah. And I'm like, you had the entire fucking summer
Mm-hmm.
to get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And so also on top of that, the superintendent, his name is Marty Polio. I've heard several people say he got a $75,000 raise,
Mm-hmm.
which has put him over like the $400,000 mark as far as his salary. Apparently the first day of school, he was taking his kid to college for move-in day and was not available. So all this shit is happening and people are trying to get a hold of him. And I'm like, it is the
Well,
first day of school.
well, right, but it's your kid's move-in day. I get that. But
But like
also,
colleges,
here's
it's like
the
move-in week. It's
well,
not like move-in day,
it
you know?
it depends on who you are, what you're doing. Like, is he a freshman moving in for orientation and you have to move in on a certain day, or is it he's on a team and he has to move in? I don't know. But none of that aside, I don't know jack shit really about school systems. But I do know that superintendents don't actually know how to do anything. So he's useless anyway. He's just the person that would yell at somebody else. I mean, again, I don't think he's right or good or any of those things. Don't hear that because I don't give a shit. But I also am like, he's not the guy that's actually like he's just the top of the food chain.
Oh, I
He
know.
doesn't know a damn
Oh,
thing.
I
What was
know.
he gonna do? Come like get people? I mean, the fact that he
But
wasn't like
still, it's
answering his
like
phone is unacceptable. You should always
you're the
be
fucking
contactable.
superintendent. It's the first damn day of school. You
You
need
should
to be
be
fucking
You need to
available.
be answering the damn phone, is what you need to be doing. There's no
Yes.
reason to not answer the damn phone.
Yes.
None at all. There's no excuse because everybody
Yes.
knows you got shit to do. But what I actually learned because one of my old library coworkers actually moved to Louisville and has kids in the school system and was talking about how, is the superintendent to blame? Maybe. He's probably not that great. But like the real people to blame, by the way, is the Kentucky legislature that took money away from the very specific fund that is supposed to go to help pay for transportation for Kentucky students. And I'm
Oh,
not
yes.
talking like
Yes,
a
yes.
little bit of money. I'm talking like 58%. Like
No, I
over
was
the years,
getting
like
to that. Like
it's
that
obscene.
was yes. Yes.
So like, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm over here being like, well, I mean, Guys, lots of people fucked up. One,
Yes, they did.
MIT, yes, one of the greatest schools. Lots of people want to go there, but real world setting,
Right,
not
exactly.
classroom. The number of things that I feel like could have been avoided with just like a basic trial run is very frustrating to me because, like, I would have been like, okay, let's have
Well,
a
and here's
trial
another
run,
thing. Here's
see
another
how this
thing.
goes.
UPS UPS offered to get their drivers involved to help. And I'm like, why and they never got back with them. And I'm like, UPS has their shit together and these are local. Like their
Mm-hmm.
UPS has a hub in Louisville and
Right.
they know. And I'm like, why did you not take them up on that? Like they fucking know the roads, they know
Yeah.
like
It's like
they run that
we
shit
can
all
give
the
you the routes.
time.
Ugh.
Like there were so many things.
Well, here's my question because, like, I saw all about it last week. Because then as they shut down, they're taking like
Oh yes, yes,
non-traditional
yes.
days for the next 2 days, or like fuck this.
Oh no. So
So like
Wednesday was the first day they shut down. Thursday and Friday. They were closed today.
they
They're
were
closed tomorrow.
close.
They still have not gone back to school. While everybody else has been in school, they might even be shut down Wednesday for who knows. We don't know. But they
Huh.
still have
See,
they had
that
one
was my
fucking day of
question.
school and they have not gone back yet.
Well, so this should be fun. Lexington, I believe, goes back on Wednesday or Thursday of this week.
Mhm.
So I know that they have staggered start times because of the of busing has always been an issue. So
Right.
let's see how they do. But I
Right.
believe in them. They seem to have their shit together. Pay better for that matter. So I can solve the bus crisis. All you have to do is pay better, and then people
Well,
will
see, and that's the
actually
thing. They
want it.
are. They are paying better.
They want
I
no
think they're paying.
even betterer
Oh,
is what I'm
because I
saying.
know that now they're offering something like 22.50 an hour for their bus drivers, but
Hmm.
still the bus drivers don't want to do it because they talk about how bad the kids are because they can't control the children
Oh yes, well there's that.
because they're not allowed to do anything. Like the kids can act out and they have no control. Like they cannot discipline the children. They can't do anything to the children. So like the kid can come up and like beat
And
the shit out of the bus driver and they have no recourse.
that is ridiculous. I remember being mildly terrified of my bus driver as a child.
Same. Okay, my bus driver, and I swear to you, my mom can attest to this. Her name was Pauline.
Mm-hmm.
She looked like a giant biker woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't very tall, but she was just big, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
she always, I mean, she looked like she could just put on a leather like vest and roll with it. And I mean, she took no shit from no one. I mean, she would put the fear of God into you. It was like you got on that bus and it was like you better act right because she would like lay you out. I mean, I don't know if she would, but she acted like she would. And she lived near us and she was because you see our bus as we would drive by her house and she was so weird because she had conch shells on her tree. Like
Hmm.
all these conch shells like
Just
nailed to this tree in her yard.
that's that's weird.
But
It's
her
a
name was Pauline and she loved my brother and myself. Like
mm-hmm.
anytime mom saw her out, she always talked about how she loved and she always called me Clara. She never called
Ah,
me Claire. It was always Clara. She loved Clara and Walter. You know, she loved us.
Walter.
But yeah.
I
But
just remember my bus driver gave us assigned seats, like, because she put up with zero shit. She's
yeah.
like, no, absolutely not. And if you did anything on that bus, yeah, she'd take you home that day, but she'd refuse to let you get on the bus the next day. School's probably figure that shit out. And I'm like, dang.
Yep. I
Ugh.
mean, yeah. She put the fear of God into you right there. I mean, she did. She looked like she always wore, I remember she always wore tank tops, even in the wintertime. She always wore like jorts, jean shorts, and
Mm-hmm.
tank tops on her bus. Always.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah. I
Well,
remember she was scary.
that to me
She
is,
terrified me even as like a high schooler.
yeah.
She terrified me. She was scary.
But I mean, to me, like that's just bare minimum of what bus drivers should be able to be like. They're not allowed on my bus. I don't care how they figure out the school thing. That's not my problem. If they can't
Right.
act right on the bus, they don't get to be on the bus again. Bye. And I mean, because then you're not really intervening or doing it. You're not touching or disciplining. You're like, nope, my bus, not you. Bye.
Right. But I mean, there were so many things that led to this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just, yeah.
But also, I'm just saying, pay more. Because I wouldn't do it. 22.50? Fuck that. That's not enough to drive a
Right.
bus in Louisville with all those evil
When,
demon
what is
children.
it? They're like, I mean, because obviously there is also a teacher shortage.
Mm-hmm.
When a friend of mine, JCPS contacted her. She's working in Bullitt County right now. But they contacted her and wanted her to come work for them for $90,000 a year.
Whoa. And she said no?
Yeah, because that's what a shit show
That's what a shit show it is. Yeah.
JCPS is. She's like, no thanks. I will stay in Bullitt County. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, most of their principals up there are making six figures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's what it takes. Because, yeah.
Well, and ultimately, like I am not a fan of punishment. I'm not here to be like, get the paddles out and beat the
Right.
children or whatever. Like
Right. You're not
I
like, oh, let's
I
bring
have
back the corporal punishment.
I
Just
have
beat
a
the shit out of
very
them.
specific memory
Right.
of a little girl. I swear it was like first grade, it might have been second, but I think it was like first as a little kid. And I can't remember what it was, but something of mine was taken out of my locker because you had little classroom lockers where you put stuff.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I was really upset about it. And I told the teacher, and like, there's no private property at school. So she searched over all the lockers and found it and another little girl's stuff. And that little girl got spanked for it, got paddled. And like, I remember being like, that's not what I wanted. I just wanted my stuff back.
Right.
Like,
You're
I
like,
didn't,
that's, and you're like, I didn't want her to get
I was
beaten.
like,
Yeah.
I, you know, I even then understood that although at that point we didn't have very much money, my mom had only been working full time for maybe a year. So,
Right.
uh, but like I understood that she came from a family that had even less, and the thing I swear it was like scented markers or just some innocuous thing that as a grown up I'm
Like
like
it
fuck
wasn't,
that,
yeah.
but like as a kid like I really love these, but I'm like damn I don't want that, but like you can't just let kids do whatever they want. Like if they can't behave in a classroom, they don't get to be in a classroom. And I know there are kids who have extenuating circumstances and there's all sorts of other things built in and they're I get that and
Right.
that's a whole nother thing. But like,
Right.
you know, it's on the parents, guys. It has to be on parents, which is one of the many, many reasons why I have no children.
Right.
Because like it is
100%.
on the parent to make sure that their child is capable of behaving and understands that there are punishments or repercussions, whether it's you're grounded or you
Right.
don't get to
Plus, also,
do stuff or whatever.
2250 in Louisville is like nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. That's like, what is that? No.
Yeah. And
That's like,
like
no.
make it like it shouldn't be a per hour. It should be salaried. They should get a salaried job that's actually real money with all the benefits and they get a bus aide that preferably is retired military to sit on the damn buses.
Right.
The ones that you can just feel the authority
Yeah.
oozing off of and you're just too afraid to even speak. That's what you need on the bus. Okay. Solved it.
Solve the problem.
Oh God, what a nightmare.
And maybe the legislature can just like give back that like 58% that they cut.
Well, I mean, the correct
Like,
answer
what the hell?
is Kentucky get right. And when I say get right, I mean stop voting for the idiots on the right that don't know anything and just fuck shit up. All they've done is fuck shit up, okay? It's not doing any good for you. They're literally just hurting other people so that they can put money in their pocket.
What I don't understand is like why people continue to cut funds from education and then they
And
complain
then,
about
and
this
then they
shit.
get complained about it. Like, what did you
It's
think
like,
was going to happen, dumbass?
did you think that taking the money away was going to make things better? That's what I
Mm-mm. Hmm.
gonna put my angry eyes on here in a minute. It's like, jeez. Anyway, I could rant about this for like 2 hours,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna wrap it up. But that's my judge is what the fuck, JCPS.
Wow. Boy. God, that's a nightmare.
It was first day of school drama.
Hmm.
It was a shit show. But yeah, I got home from, was it rehearsal? I think I got home from rehearsal or something that day, and I turned on the news, and it was like, what? Wait. The last child was just dropped off at 9:58 p.m. Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine being on a bus that long. Like, what the hell? And then what was so funny is that the news, it was WLKY, makes this Facebook post, and they're like, "Tell us your first day horror
Oh
stories."
my
And
God.
oh boy, you talk about like sitting there and drinking my tea and eating my popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's like, oh my god. I'm like, yes, this is the kind of trolling I like. I'm just like, it's like, why would you even open up a post like that? And it's like, yes, this is the Facebook stuff I live for. Yes, yes, yes. I don't even know these people. And I'm like, I want to read all the comments.
No, I understand. I understand. I do that sometimes.
Yep.
Well,
Like,
that
oh,
was excellent, Claire. Thank
this is how I
you.
veg out at night. It's like, oh, but anyway, yeah, that was my judge because that just happened, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm judging.
Very nice.
But
Very nice.
anyway, what are you judging this week?
Well, this week I was reading a book in order to get ready for my story today. And I was trying to find a bookmark, and for some reason, all of my bookmarks are downstairs in the basement in my desk drawer, far, far away from where I was, because I was laying in my bed
Uh,
on the second floor. So I was like, so I
have to
dig
walk down all
around,
the steps to go get bookmarks,
and
and you're
I'm
like,
like, no.
no.
So I dig around in my drawer, and there's really not a whole lot in there that's useful that I could use to be a bookmark. But then I grab this very fun miniature golf scorecard. And I grabbed it, and then I was filled with joy because, guys, while I was on vacation, it's been a while now, but while I was on vacation in North Carolina with my sister and all of the children, well, most of the children, 3/5 of the children, Amy and I decided that we were going to go play putt-putt with the 3/5 of the children that were there. And so I, of course, was like, I'm going to win. You guys just need to accept it now. You're all going down. And like, mostly this is directed at Maggie because we were having some weird thing all week where like we were trying to one up each other. I don't have any idea why. It's just vacation fun. And so we go through and we play 18 holes. 18 holes. You know, just, and like I keep all the score, and then we get in, and I start adding up the scores. And, we get to the final scores. Anna, who kind of like wasn't super into it, so like several holes she kind of just like flubbed up on purpose. Otherwise, she came in 5th place with 54. But like again, she actually could do better. She just wasn't really trying that hard. So she had 54. Dear sister Amy came in next with 45. Very good. Matthew and Maggie actually tied, so that was pretty exciting for them with 44. And then I had 43.
Nah.
And I looked at when I ended it up, I looked at Maggie and I was like, I beat you by 1 stroke. It might have been the greatest day of my life, I won't lie. So I picked this up and I was like, oh, remember that time I destroyed your hopes and dreams by beating you at putt-putt? So that's my judge. Is that, it's really nice when, as an adult, you can destroy the happiness and dreams of children just by beating them at something. So I've held on to it. I told Maggie that I was going to just randomly send her a picture of it now and then. Just a
Like,
reminder.
look.
Hey, look what I found. Remember that time I beat you?
So this last vacation, we played putt putt, and Mom won,
Ah,
which is like what? And then Walt and I tied,
ah.
but we beat Dad, and that like never happens.
How did he
Usually,
take it?
Dad,
Did he have like some weird "I'm
he
getting old"
did.
moment and like
I think
really
he was
freak
have like
out?
a crisis. I think he was having like some kind of existential crisis at that moment. I really do. Because he's always used to like wiping the floor with us at
Mm-hmm.
putt putt because he was just having a really off night. A
Uh-huh,
really off
sure.
night.
Mm-hmm. You know, one day Maggie will beat me at something and she'll never let me live it down. But until that day comes, by
Right,
golly, I'm gonna
right,
hold on to this feeling forever because I'm like, ha,
right.
because I suck
I
at all
was like,
sportsy things. But putt putt, I'm usually moderately decent at. So,
right.
like, yeah, yeah. So
I
that
thought that
was
was
my
pretty funny
judge.
that Walt and I tied, and we were like, "What?" But Mom beat everybody, and Mom was like, "What?" Mom got like 2 holes in 1, like back to back. We were like,
hmm
"What?"
Hmm. I
I
just
do love,
loved it. It's what
I do love playing putt putt. I
to me,
do.
it's more about like if I had won by like 10 strokes, it's not that exciting. It's the
No, but the fact
one.
you won by one, you're like,
One.
"Haha, I beat you by
It's like
one."
one. It's like if you had just tried a little harder.
Right.
But anyway, so that's it. That's my judge for the week.
Excellent.
Thank you. Which I guess means it's time to get down to the cult of it all,
Yes.
where I will tell you that I will be spending my culty episode talking about NXIVM. Do
Dun
do
dun.
do do do.
Yes.
I got all of my information from, well, let's see, watching The Vow on HBO.
Hmm.
Also the generic random news stories that come up in connection with that, because like it's been a lot of knowledge rolling through my head. But to prepare for this episode, I read this book. It's called "Don't Call It a Cult."
Ah,
It is by Sarah Berman and is the shocking story of Keith Raniere and the women of NXIVM. So, whatever.
the shocking
The
story.
shocking story. It is quite shocking. So, hopefully, none of you guys know any of this stuff. And you'll be like, oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna do a bit of jumping around because
Okay.
a lot of this stuff exists because of a woman. We know a lot of this stuff because of a woman named Sarah Edmondson, because she ended up being the first woman that was in Keith Raniere's inner circle in this weird little sexy cult thing that went public. So in 2017, at that point, she had been in NXIVM for 12 years, taking basically like every class that she possibly could that in their studies or whatever, and all of them had been designed by Raniere. Up to the point that she went public, she had never spoken ill of a single lesson or of any teacher that she had encountered. Because she had joined this group, she met her husband and her bestie. Her bestie being Lauren Salzman, which is important for later.
Okay.
And, again, this had become like the center of her world. Like she had risen through the ranks along with Lauren. I mean, Lauren was basically was the co-founder's daughter, so like they both were rising through the ranks. So Lauren had managed to become the director of education for the whole shebang and was was living in Albany, New York. It feels it's weird. The whole thing's weird.
Yeah.
But Sarah had managed to open up a self-help center to really, promote NXIVM and get it out to the public in Vancouver, and was
Mhm.
incredibly successful. I mean, it was basically her that got in a lot of these celebrities and younger people and made it really cool and fun. Like, she was one that did that. So, like, she was living her best life, she thought. Everything was great. Everything had fallen into place. She was
Or so
succeeding.
she thought.
But in January of 2017, Lauren was visiting from Albany and asked her if Sarah wanted to be part of something bigger, something, the next thing, like,
Yeah.
and said to her, "But before I can even tell you about it, I need to get something from you to prove you'll never talk about it."
What?
So she was basically saying to Sarah she needed some form of collateral before she could even tell her what it was. And so
Okay.
eventually Sarah writes a confession of like her party girl days from when she was in her 20s. And apparently that wasn't really sufficient enough. And so Lauren had her like basically add in some things that weren't true to make it more whatever. Like, she handwrote it out saying that she had done, didn't really go into it, saying she had done stuff or whatever. And on top of that, Lauren took a picture of her, a nude picture. And together, that was enough collateral. And that is when Sarah took her first step into DOS. DOS, which stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororum, and is Latin that translates into master over the slave women.
Okay.
Now, now that she had the collateral and Lauren was trying to explain it to Sarah, she tried to explain it. She was using the words master slave, but she said it's really more disciple guru. And that it was really
I
more
feel like
about,
those are two totally different things.
I'm with you. I'm so with you. I am your bestie, and I would never do this to you. So, just letting you know, never. It's gross.
It's like, eh. It's like,
Mm. But I
no,
mean, it's
no.
it's your bestie, and you think they're not going to do anything to hurt you, that they only care about you. So, like,
Right.
she was kind of like, I mean, all right. And that it was supposed to be, she was sold to her as like Sarah would be taken under Lauren's wing, and like Lauren would just like help guide her, and it was supposed to, feel almost like a loving, caring kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But Sarah still had to take a vow of obedience to Lauren, that she would always obey Lauren. Claire, I need you to take a vow of obedience to me right now. Do it.
Yeah,
Do it.
that's
Do it.
not happening. That's not happening.
So
That's
that,
just,
yeah.
who does this?
Uh,
Who I just want to know who thinks that this is a good idea. Like, who's
same.
like, yes, yes, I will. You're my bestie, and I will do whatever the fuck you say. Like, I just
Oh, I've got that on record. I recorded that. No backsies. You said it.
shut up. So I just want to know, like, who.
No, like,
I
no,
don't understand. I
no.
do not
You
understand.
won't. You won't understand. Like, I've read a whole book and I'm still going, the fuck happened? Lord. Anyway. So that happened in January. 2
Uh-huh.
months later, Sarah is with 4 other women who are taking
Uh-huh.
turns holding each other down naked while a doctor that they know carves a cryptic symbol into their bikini line with a cauterizing pen.
No.
And it was all filmed.
What?
Yep. Yep.
Oh God.
And so, like, Sarah was like, I don't want to fucking do this. This is insane, which is the correct
Yeah,
response to have. And so
absolutely.
she tried really hard to back out of it, but Lauren made her do it by kind of like throwing her insecurities around. I'm telling you, this is the most fucked up. Like, I had no true concept how this worked until I read this book, But like
Right.
they take the things, your negative things, and when you're doing something they don't like, they flip it around to make it, you're just doing this because of your blah blah blah, and you gotta take control of that and push through because they're trying to make you do something. And so it gets all turned around and
Mm.
you find yourself agreeing to things that you don't want.
Right. Because they just take it all and flip it around and make you the bad guy.
Hmm.
Super manipulative.
Now, this
Mhm.
weird janky symbol um is that they had branded, because that's the only correct word you can use, branded
Right.
into their flesh, was supposed to represent the four elements. They were told that, the different lines represented, air and earth and water and fire, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, so they watched Fifth Element? Is that what happened?
I mean, to be fair, probably, because most everything here was stolen from somebody, so whatever.
They watched The Fifth Element and got all the little symbols off the stones? Is that what they did?
Except that that's not at all what it was. And in
I know.
fact, when you look at it, and I'll throw up some uncomfortable pictures, trigger warning, this is not a fun
Okay.
episode. I mean, like, it's fun for us,
Noted.
but like, yeesh. Trigger
Yeesh.
warnings all over the place, guys. Because it is actually Keith Allen Raniere's initials.
What?
Yes.
Oh, that's cringy. That's super cringy.
It gets better. And by better, I mean worse.
And by better, I mean worse.
So who the fuck is Keith Raniere, right? Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
God, like, he just was always super gross and a tool, is all I can tell you. So
I
we're
mean, he
gonna,
sounds like it. Yeah.
but like, whoa. Okay, so we're gonna go back in time now. So now we're gonna go back to 1988-ish. Keith Raniere
88-ish.
is around 27 years old, and already at this point he had a set of acolytes that were obsessed
Uh-huh.
and worshiping the ground he walked on for whatever reason. I will never know.
Even in
Because,
88?
like, have you seen him? Like, I don't get it. I don't
No. Here,
get it.
I'm gonna look up a photo.
But so at that
How do you
point,
spell his name? Keith
oh,
what?
Raniere, Raniere.
Oh, there we go.
So he always
But
has,
why? He looks
thank
like the
you.
nerdiest nerd.
He is the nerdiest nerd. And that actually
Like he
comes
looks
into
like
play
somebody
later.
who like work at Apple with like Steve Jobs or something.
Mm,
Glasses. I mean,
yeah,
seriously.
I don't get it. Because he, especially by the end with all of his harems of women, it's bizarre. The whole thing's bizarre. I don't know. Anyway. So at this point, he's got
Mm,
a group of acolytes, but he's still 10 years away before he has NXIVM. NXIVM.
yeah.
NXIVM. NXIVM is the drug. NXIVM.
Nix Nixium, yeah.
NXIVM is the cult. Sorry.
Nexium is
NXIVM
the
is the drug. It's the acid reducer or something.
yes, yeah.
Yep. Say
Or
nothing.
acid reflux.
There you go. I mean, you'll need some NXIVM to deal with this shit.
With
So
yeah, it sounds like it.
it's fair. So he's 27 and he decides that he's going to do a take home IQ test that was created by Dr. Ronald K. Hofflin. It is the Mega Society test that has 48 questions. It's brain teasers, analogical thinking, math skills, spatial reasoning. And Hofflin claimed that if people who are in Mensa, which means you're in the 99th percentile,
Uh-huh.
that all the people in Mensa, if they took this test, they would average maybe half correct because it is how hard this is. And I'm like, I mean, all right. I
Huh.
feel like the need to take this test because I took the Mensa test. Guys, I'm not flexing. Spencer will say I'm flexing. I'm not flexing, Spencer. I took the Mensa test. I got into Mensa. You can practice. It's are you good at taking a test? Are you good at taking this test? Congratulations, you're in Mensa. That's really all it is. So whatever. But now I kind of want to take this test and be like, the fuck? But whatever. Okay, sorry.
Right.
But unlike the Mensa test, where you have to go with your friend Adrian to some random guy's house where he says he has robots in his basement if you want to go see them, and you're like, no, 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 no,
I remember you telling me about that. You were like,
no.
"Yeah, we had to go to a guy's house to take this test." And I'm like, "Wait, this wasn't at like some school or something?"
This guy's
To
house.
me, that was
Oh my
wild. I
god.
was like,
I'm like,
"What?"
Adrian and I still laugh about that. So she's like, do you want us to see them? I was like, no, no,
Like, we don't want to go to your
don't
basement,
want to go to
sir.
the,
No.
because we kept waiting for the mysterious third person to come. Like, there is no third person, is there? But then there was, and it was fine. It was fine. I was being dramatic. I'm sure it would have been fine in the basement, but also like, hey, don't invite people to your basement that you don't know. It's weird.
Right. You're just like, "No. No."
So all that aside, so unlike the Mensa test where you go to some weirdo's house and take a test in front of other people, uh, the Mega Society test was an honor system, and you're just supposed to do it on your own without help and not using computers or internet or calculators or anything.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously that's how everybody does it.
Right.
But Keith's group of acolytes helped him with this test. So he didn't do it on his own. They helped. And he still missed 2 of them, by the way, which I think is hilarious.
Wow.
But he was so pissed off when he got his results back and had missed 2 that he managed to convince Hofflin to change the scoring of it so that way he could still. So that he was claiming, Keith Raniere claims that he has an IQ of 240.
But not
So,
really.
fun fact, by the way, like IQ is a whole bunch of garbage, and it's basically privilege. How privileged are you is how well you can do this test. There's a lot of privilege
Right.
in it. But even if you do buy into it, guys, anything above like 140, 145, you could be like 172. It's so incremental that it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So if you're up in like if you're up at like 140 or around there, the 130, you're fine. You're still smarter than a lot of people. So like don't let big high IQ numbers get to you.
Yeah.
It's all garbage. It's garbage. So, whatever. Anyway. So now Raniere has this documentation somehow that he is a genius, and he's like the smartest man in the world, basically. He's even in like the book of world records in Australia somewhere for having the highest IQ for like 10
Oh,
seconds. I don't know.
Lord.
It's something
For like
absolutely
10
garbage.
seconds.
Well, because it's not real. He didn't actually do this. He cheated. But so he created, like at this point he's 27.
Right.
But he creates this whole child prodigy story about how like he was learning high school math, all of high school math in like a day, and he left
You're
school
like, "Yeah,
early because
right."
he had learned everything he could possibly learn,
Right.
and that he majored in like 4 things at the Polytechnic University he went to, in his like, big
No.
things,
Yeah.
whatever. Also claimed that he was a what do you call like a concert pianist, like master level or whatever, by the age of 12.
A
Like,
musical savant or something?
sure, but like, so one of his childhood friends, not besties but friends, they played together, they hung out together, they sat on the bus together, you know is interviewed in the book, and he's like, he was smart,
But not like that
but he
little
was
smart.
not the smartest person in
Right.
school. And he's like, he wasn't the smartest. He was, but he was smart. He was good at math, is basically what he said. He's pretty good at math. But actually terrible at music. Like he played the clarinet in the school band, where it was horrific. Total nightmare. And so it's just ridiculous. And then it turned out that he actually failed out of, maybe he didn't fail out of college, but like he had like a 3.0 GPA, a 2.7. Like he was getting C's in these
Right.
classes that he was so great at or whatever. So like it's all a bunch of garbage and lies. He also in this time started claiming that he could recall his past lives.
Oh.
and claimed that when he was 14, he had a great perception shift, in quotations.
Okay.
And at 14, he realized that if you could eliminate each fear that you had, you could feel as much joy as you want.
What does that even mean?
That fear is what's keeping you from having joy, Claire.
Is it?
I mean, I'm gonna go with not.
Is that what it is?
But sure, whatever. But he was also super fucking
Like,
gross with women, even when he was a fucking child, by the way.
oh, so this isn't something that just like happened.
No,
Like
he's
an
always been
older. Okay.
gross. A nerdy, gross creep.
Okay.
Um, and so like one of his friends, acquaintances from growing up remembers like in high school time the, guys joke around, how long before, you can get a woman to sleep with you or whatever. And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And he
Yeah.
goes, 12 seconds. And they were like, ew.
What? Wow, this guy's got some audacity, man. I'll tell you what.
Well, and at the early age of 24, he had already managed to kind of convince two, I'm going to go with children, two children to, be enamored by him, consumed by him. They were both 15 and they were both named Gina randomly. They were friends.
Wow.
One of the Ginas ended up staying with him and was like in a relationship with him and like having sex with him at the same time that he was having sex with his grown ass adult roommate. And
Ew.
so he then from like he was already starting his first harem of women and children, by the way, children, 15,
And he was how old at this time?
24.
Oh God.
And so he would do this thing, and this follows him throughout his entire disgusting life, is that he would make a woman or child in some cases feel like they were in a monogamous relationship with him and it was just the two of them and it was special and great. And then it would actually turn out that he was sleeping with lots of other people who
But it
thought the same
wasn't.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And what was really
damn.
disgusting is that when they would find out that they were not the only one, he would uh he would try and convince them that they were special, but the other women in the harem who knew would also try and convince them how special they were and how important they were and how it's all okay. And I'm like, ew, ew.
Yeah.
Gina, like it was a whole weird thing. Like no one really knew what was really happening or until it was way too late, I guess, and she was a grown-ass woman and legal.
Right.
But she eventually died from a self-inflicted gun wound. And she left everything she had to Raniere.
Wow.
So gross. Ugh. So now we all know that NXIVM is an MLM, or
Hmm.
was, thankfully was. But it wasn't Raniere's first MLM. He had an MLM called Consumers Byline that was eventually shut down because, laws. And so when that
Well,
started collapsing and like states were suing him and he was having to pay shit back and blah, 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 he got into neuro-linguistic programming, which is how he met Nancy Salzman. And he also at this time started getting into Scientology, not as a person interested in joining Scientology, but wanted the materials that they were using to try and recruit people. And so asked specifically to
oh,
get stuff from the Celebrity Center because the Celebrity Center in LA that's the good one, I'm telling you. If you're gonna go check
yeah.
out Scientology and make fun of it, do it there.
Do it there.
Do it there. And he adapted a lot of it to his own teachings that he would use in NXIVM later on. So Nancy Salzman ends up being a co-founder with Raniere in what they developed these. I didn't write it down because it's like ESP, but it's executive something programs. It's essentially they're marketed as like to help you be better in business and to get, more confidence in order to do stuff
Uh-huh.
and get things to go your way. Like it's supposed to be like a career centric kind of training session and workshops.
Gotcha.
And so Nancy, who was a neurolinguistic programmer, connected with him, and they both founded this particular thing that became NXIVM. And they were being funded by Claire Bronfman, who was one of the heirs, or I guess is, she's still alive, an heir to the Seagram liquor industry. So shit tons of money.
Oh, wow.
So, Lord, this is just where it gets a whole bunch of weird stuff starts happening. So at this point, they've created NXIVM. They're starting out, and Raniere is getting weird. He had
So what is NXIVM as far as like the MLM?
So the way it works is like any good pyramid scheme is,
Uh-huh.
hey, you know what? You should take this class. Now, this class is going to help you be better and fix all of your issues, whatever. It's only $3,000. Oh, I
So
can't really afford
it's not
that.
like an MLM as far as like you're selling a product.
Well, eh, so you'll be like, wow, $3,000? I don't think I can afford that. I'm like, well, actually, if you get 3 other people to sign up, then you get yours for free. So then when you get in, you can be a coach. There's all these levels and things of people that are doing stuff that are not getting paid at all. And then if you make it up to like the proctor level, then you start getting paid. So they're all funneling all this money up, but it's people shelling it out below and
Mm.
having to get other people to sign up. So it's like you can't. One of the big issues is that people could never rise up enough. They could never get enough people in order to rise up in order to make money. It was always them shelling out money. So
Uh-huh.
MLM,
But it wasn't
people at the
like
top are making all the dash.
as far as I don't know, like LuLaRoe
Or
or
you mean like what's the garbage Skeletor sells? Thrive. Is that what it's called? It's called Thrive, right?
yes.
So like it's an MLM, and every time I see
Garbage
it,
that Skeletor.
you know what I'm talking about. I can't use
Yes,
those
I
real
know, but
names.
the fact that you just like absolutely
The
there's a person that
garbage.
we know that sells
No one,
Thrive.
only we know who that is. It's fine.
I know,
Every
but
time I
her
see the garbage, I'm like, this is an
yes,
MLM. And she got
but
in at a
there's a
level
person
when
that
she could make all the money, but people below
she's
her
lost
don't.
like a shit ton of weight and looks ill. And April, every time we see her now, like on Facebook, April's like, I swear to God, she looks like Skeletor.
Except that then I saw something with Skeletor. No, Skeletor actually is kind of bulky for his
Except for his
skeletalness.
face.
Yeah,
His
that's true.
face is like the only thing. Everything else is muscular.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not really a skeleton.
But like the point still stands. Skeletor.
Oh shit. But in fact you were like, what's the shit the skeleton sells? Yes, Thrive.
But
But I'm talking about but there's like not an actual like product that you're
well,
selling as
it's
far as
not there. I learned a lot about MLMs in that it's
yeah.
the things that become illegal are when someone has like a basement full of shitty LuLaRoe pants or 50 cases of something that they can't sell because they have
Right.
to have so much. So like a lot of MLMs have tweaks so that they don't get in legal trouble even though they're still doing the same thing because it's
Yeah.
essentially money funnels to the top and the people on the bottom are told they can get stuff, but they never really can because once a market is saturated, there's no growth for them, and so they're left
Right.
with paying. And so it's the same concept. But this is workshops instead of is the product as opposed to a tangible product.
Got you.
So
Workshops. And the
they're workshops.
workshops are like life life things, like how to be better human or what? Like,
Yes. So it's just like Scientology, where it's like we can help you fix the things that are wrong with you to make you better. But like you baby step your way in, you know? It's gross. It's so gross.
gotcha. Okay.
You know, not unlike religion where they tell you you have all this sin,
Mm.
but we can cure you of that. All you have to do is join. Same it's the same it's this I mean, it's all the same hook. This magical workshop or this magical protein shake will change your life.
Uh-huh.
No, it won't.
Gotcha.
It's like you can change your life and maybe you'll get some helpful things out of it, but mostly it's just to get you sucked in so that you stay and spend more money.
Gotcha.
But so uh Raniere is he believes in his past lives and thinks that he can remember them because why the fuck not? But he
Right.
also starts convincing other people that they also have past lives, and he
Uh-huh.
convinces Nancy Salzman and one of his many harem women, Barbara Bushi, that they were Nazis in a past life.
What?
Specifically, Nancy was Hitler, and
Stop it.
Barbara was Reinhard Heydrich, who was the architect of the Holocaust, apparently.
Oh
So
God.
they were having not only to like better themselves in order to because the goal is to it's basically Scientology. The goal is to um integrate because we have all these disintegrations. The goal is to integrate so that you can essentially be clear like in psychology or in Scientology. So
Yeah.
thing. But so he's got these people convinced that they are having to repair and atone for the damage of their past lives. That's what this life is for. It's a chance for them to fix the fact that they were Nazis. And I'm like, okay,
God.
okay. Now,
Why?
Nancy Salzman has a daughter. Her name is Lauren. We met her at the beginning of the story. And so she gets pulled into, you know, with it's all about, it's like the guys that Keith Raniere cares about her, is interested in her. This
Right.
young, barely legal
Right.
woman,
Uh-huh.
and convinces her that
Mm.
she would that she should be 100 pounds. That she just
Stop it.
yeah. There's a lot of that. Lots of trigger warnings, guys. This is the like a real piece of shit. He's on my cookie day list. Okay, he's on the list, and so convinces her that she should join other women that are doing like juice fasts or juice cleanses and fasting, and that her ideal weight should be 100 pounds. And then, of course, shocker, they start having a secret sexual relationship.
Who didn't see that coming?
Literally, no, everybody saw it. Every single fucking person saw that coming. So,
Was he also having a sexual relationship with her mom?
I'm gonna go with yes. He seems
Because
to have
that is
sex with
also
everybody.
gross.
He seems to just have sex all around. It's really bizarre.
Because that's also gross. Anyway,
All right, so he's obviously having sex with like all these people.
with
In fact, that's
everybody,
mostly
right?
what this book is talking about. Is all the different like people that he's having sex with. But by the mid 2000s, most of the NXIVM students that are not in this inner harem group were being told that Raniere had actually sworn off sex and material possessions. I mean,
Oh, those sweet summer children. Oh,
uh,
please.
but like people are starting to take notice of NXIVM. Not everyone is happy. Some people are not thrilled that have kind of
Right.
tiptoed in and like fuck this. There was an article in 2003 called Success School Plans Raise Concerns." And within this article, because like the newspaper reporter was very careful about it. Like he had lots of
Right.
suspicions about the fuck was going on, but like he
Right.
couldn't write it all up yet.
Because it was all
But
like, allegedly.
yeah. But in the article, he quotes cult specialist Rick Ross, who had managed to get access to some workshop notes. I won't go into all of the roundabout details because you don't care and
Right.
it's irrelevant, but managed to get access to some workshop notes. And he pointed out how the stuff that the workshop coaches were leading, like these were all led, like the stuff that was happening were used in order to have ideological control over people. And he's saying this is a cult.
Right.
We should be concerned. Now, NXIVM, of course, freaks the shit out, and
Oh yeah.
Raniere, of course, blows a gasket, and so they start like trying to sue the shit out of everybody, primarily Rick Ross, because he has the workshop notes or whatever on his website where he's, like highlighting this here is actually this, and this is why it's concerned, like you do.
Right.
And it just became this crazy big thing. And so the reporter is trying to get like a comment, a response to all, the back and forth, the lawsuits, whatever. And he calls NXIVM. He shows up at their headquarters. No one will ever talk to him. And so he
Hmm.
decides that he's going to crash V Week. Now, Claire, do you
Yeah.
know what V Week is?
Virgin Week. I don't know.
So,
I have no idea.
weird things about NXIVM is I mean, guys, it's a cult when you walk in and they make you do a weird handshake and then they make you wear a sash to denote your color status on how far you've risen, and you have to bow to Keith Raniere, and then you have to call him Vanguard because he played a video game once and liked that, and that's the name he goes by now, and he's Vanguard. So obviously V Week is Vanguard Week because it's the week of Keith Raniere's birthday, and every year they had a big bash to celebrate him. That's a cult. Just letting you know. So
This almost sounds like LARPing a
it's
little bit.
so bizarre. It's a whole
Like what?
weird. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Bizarre.
But so anyway, so the reporter goes to V Week and
Uh-huh.
manages to talk to Nancy Salzman, who agrees to a interview, I guess, on camera, whatever.
Right.
And in that time, she tries to gaslight him because he's like, I've been trying to reach out, trying to get a hold of you. And she's like, you haven't been doing that. You have never tried to call me. And he's like, she says it in this weird way. It's like hypnotic and trance like. And he's like, the fuck is happening here? Like, I know I did. And this is his direct quote. His name was Yusko. Truth didn't matter. It was about control. ... They were Trumpian before Trump. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Oh goodness. So like
Trumpian
that's
before Trump. I
that's
love that.
the garbage that they're doing. Like the gaslighting is hardcore here. So it gets so gross. Everything is gross. Okay, so in these workshops that they're doing, because like Vanguard Week is a bunch of workshops too. Everything is workshops.
Mhm.
And they discovered, like you can get people to tiptoe in for a workshop, but if you can get them into like the 5 to 16-day intensive workshops, then like you're able to brainwash them. Let's be real, like you're able to get them in.
Gosh.
And so these workshops would start at like 8 o'clock in the morning and last till 10 o'clock at night. So like it was non-stop. And there were a lot of controversial things that happened there. They would try and make you reinterpret events that happened to you. So like maybe you're telling them something bad that happened to you, or the thing that, causes you anger or whatever they have to be button pushing at the time. And
Yeah.
so there were instances in which they would talk about how rape victims might have been responsible for their rapes, which is horrifying.
What?
Or if you had cancer, that, how your low self-esteem could have contributed to the illness.
Stop it.
And like
You know what? This almost sounds like a back ass word like teal swan.
yes. God, it's
Because
gross.
she was all about like taking things and twisting it, but this is like them taking it and twisting it in an opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's like,
But like it was like
dang.
everyone who wasn't Keith Raniere, experienced this. So like even Nancy Salzman, the co-founder of this insanity, believed that September 11th might not have happened if she had just joined Raniere earlier.
I can't. What?
So this one's for you. There was a woman who was part of NXIVM. Her name was Kristen Snyder, who believed that she was responsible for the Challenger explosion. And like
And why so?
just she believed it. I mean, just the stuff that they do to you in these things. Because
Oh
she
my
she
gosh.
got dark and like she was in a 16-day intensive in Alaska, and she one night went outside without her coat and laid in the cold Alaskan snow trying to die from exposure.
What?
And then she
Oh
decided
my
not
gosh.
to, and then like a couple days later she disappeared and they never found her. They think that she took a kayak and just kayaked to her death. She left like a really creepy note behind. Like it was,
Wow.
and I'm like, so that's what's happening. It's really dark. Everything's bad.
But you would
So,
have thought that he would have been investigated way before he was with like what's her face, Gina, and that, you
well,
know,
but an unstable woman takes her life. Everyone knew she was there are a lot of women in the story who I'm sure the story that was let out was, they were just
true.
really blah blah blah. And it's like, but it's you did this. You caused this. You caused
Right.
the unstable.
Right, right.
Speaking of women, uh let's talk about Daniela. So Daniela was 15 years old and grew up in Mexico with her family. When her parents, who were already into NXIVM, convinced her to go try a NXIVM workshop before she left to go spend her last year or two. I'm not sure what year it was. They call in different things. So,
Right.
at a prestigious Swiss school that she had gotten into on a scholarship. And so she goes, and then she finds that she loves it, and she ends up giving up her position at the Swiss school to stay in Albany with NXIVM.
Mm.
And she was groomed very quickly by Raniere and basically made her, through suggestion and power and like innuendo and weird garbage, made her basically ask him to give her sex on her 18th birthday. So at that point,
Ew.
she was a virgin, had never been kissed. And so what was really bizarre is that I didn't write this down, but it was so ridiculous. So like he gives this is very explicit. He gives her oral
Mm.
and like then lays on top of her, but is not penetrating. And in a little while, like gets off of her and then starts gaslighting her that she did have sex. And she's like, no. She's like, no, you did. She's like, what? Like, why? Why are we gaslighting her? What is even happening? So bizarre.
Wow.
But Raniere also is having sex with her two sisters, one older and one younger.
Yeah. This is gross.
I know. Mariana was a couple years older, and she and Raniere they continue on for a while. She comes back up later. Camilla was only like 15, and she
Ew.
really wasn't handling it well. Like, she was
Mm.
like wanting to have a baby, and she was going dark and was starting to cut, and all these
Oh
crazy,
God.
like, 15-year-old who's being sexually abused, of course,
Yeah, because she is.
At one point, Daniela gets pregnant, and when
Oh
she
gosh.
told Raniere, he said to her that they had already talked about what would happen if she got pregnant, and that she would have an abortion. And she was like, she wanted an abortion. She didn't want kids, and so she was like, "Well, I want an abortion, but we never talked about it. That's never been a conversation we had. I'd remember that conversation."
Wow.
And so, like, it was this weird experience for, like, the other harem wives took her, and, like, she wasn't allowed to talk about it because no one outside of their little harem was allowed to know that Rhaenyra is having sex because he's celibate, remember? He gave it all
To
up.
everybody else.
Mhm. And
Hmm.
so she then later learns that both of her sisters also had had abortions. So they had also
Oh
gotten pregnant by this guy. And then
gosh,
she
this is
makes
awful.
the worst mistake of her life, in which she falls for another guy that she has met at Star Trek night, by the way, which I'm not going to go into. And she stupidly tells Rhaenyra about it, thinking, that they're friends. He's basically her confidant, her best friend, sort of, in this weird, twisted,
No.
messed up world. But he, of course, gets pissed off. He's like, "You're only supposed to have feelings like that for me."
Ugh. Gross.
And I'll tell you, that whole thing blows up, and she ends up being basically trapped and imprisoned in a bedroom for 2 years. I don't. It's a
What?
whole big nightmare, and I'm like, what the hell is even happening at this point? But it was disturbing because she at this point, she knows that, like, her everyone's abortion is basically the birth control that Rhaenyra prefers, because Claire, hormonal birth control has a common side effect of weight gain, and Rhaenyra doesn't like that.
Oh yeah, since he wanted what's her face to only be 100 pounds.
Yeah, and he did that to a lot of people. He'd be like, "I think you should be 150, or you should be no more than 106," or, like, I mean, to lots of people starving all the time. It's bizarre.
You're like, fuck you, dude.
But
Are you a
interestingly,
doctor? Fuck you.
one of his harem women hid a pregnancy because she wanted to have a kid by him, specifically, the smartest man in the world. And
Mm.
so she hid her pregnancy until she went into labor prematurely and gave birth to Galen, his son. But now they're like, what the fuck do we do? He's supposed to be celibate. He can't have a baby. What? And so
Oops.
obviously the only thing you can do is claim that the friend, of a woman who's in your cult that you're not sleeping with, but that, will keep your secrets. Claim that one of her friends died and she's fostering the baby, but let the real birth mom stay there too. It's normal. It's
Ugh.
fine.
God.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But so, like, that, of course, it all blows up, and she ends up running away and fleeing with her child because she's scared. Like, lots of people
Right.
flee. And just like Scientology, they do the same bullshit where they basically try and destroy you. Like,
Yeah.
it's really bad. It is basically Scientology with a different name and less aliens. I couldn't find any aliens.
Gotcha.
So we're going to talk about Camilla. Now, you all recall she's the younger sister of Daniela, the one that was 15 when Rhaenyra first started having sex with her. She actually ends up becoming the first slave, the first member of DOS as we know it.
Wow.
And this whole time, their relationship has had to stay secret because of how young she was.
Hmm.
And he just doesn't, no one else is allowed to know. And so she ends up staying with him because she's brainwashed. But he gets her to give him collateral to truly be his. And so, like, it wasn't presented in the same way that Lauren presented it to Sarah at the beginning of
Mhm.
our story. It was
Right.
more of a, if you're truly mine, if you're truly with me, you'll do this. You'll basically submit, blah blah blah. And so he ends up getting her a quote unquote slave necklace. They went and picked it out together at Macy's or whatever. And so she both kind of likes it because it's the first kind of outward expression that she's allowed to have that they're together. But then she notices another woman in their inner circle has the same necklace,
Mm.
and she confronts him. She confronts Raniere, and he's like, "What? You were my first." It's like, this isn't just you know, it's not just but you're my
Mhm.
first one. You're my first
Right.
whatever. And that's when he decides that he wants to brand them.
Ugh.
And he tells her, Camilla, the first slave, he tells her that she wants to that he wants to brand her with his monogram plus a number, and Camilla was number 1. So all of those horrible brandings that these people had were his initials, and in theory, the number slave they were.
Oh God. That's awful.
So at this point, Allison Mack comes into this. I didn't touch on her a lot because the Val really does. The Val talks about Allison
Yeah.
Mack, and it talks about India, because a lot of it is about India, who was in DOS, and her family desperately trying to get her out,
Right.
using their connections to the royal family in England and all of the chaos. Apparently, Prince Charles was their cousin or something. I don't remember
Yeah.
now. King Charles. Sorry, he's king now. Whatever. But so we find out that Allison Mack is, by the way, fucked up too,
Mhm.
because what happens is, so Keith Raniere has his slaves, but they then can have other slaves, and ultimately he is the master of all of them.
Master
So,
of all slaves.
master of all slaves. It's so gross.
Yes, it is.
And so, but Allison Mack does this crazy stuff where she's basically like serving them up on a plate for him because they pledged to Allison, and so they have to do what she says, and she has to do what he says, and so they actually have to do what he says too, and it's a whole lot of weird things. There's a lot of forced like naked photos. Allison Mack would
Oh
make them
God.
all like come together and then take all their clothes off and take photos. She made them let her take close up photos of their pussy, and then she sent them to him. Like, I mean,
Ew.
it's a lot.
Yeah, sounds like it. Ew.
But then, like, one of the last things that happened, because like a lot of stuff comes out at trial, because at this point everyone has agreed to take a plea deal in order to get them to testify against Raniere. So, like, all sorts of things are coming out in the trial. So, like, Nancy Salzman, who bad, um, and Lauren Salzman, like, they're all co-conspirators, I guess, in a lot of this stuff. Um, she ends up Lauren believed that Raniere was going to give her a family. Like, they were going to be the two that made it.
Yeah.
Because he has that ability. He just would convince people that they were the special one.
Mm.
And so she was like super excited. She kept wanting to get pregnant. But then Mariana comes back into play. These three sisters did not have a good time, by the way.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
Mariana comes back into play, and she's basically the only one that Raniere does not make submit and does not make join DOS or any of this stuff. She truly is maybe his chosen one. She ends up
Right.
getting pregnant, and Raniere is like, shit, because if Lauren finds out, she's she's going to snap because she thinks she's going to be the one to have my kid.
Ooh.
And so he ends up getting Lauren to join DOS and gets collateral from her
This whole collateral
before
thing is so weird. It's like, what?
before he tells her about Mariana. And so now she's trapped because she has vowed to obey him. And if she doesn't, if she tries to leave or do anything, then he puts out the collateral that she gave
Mm-hmm.
him. And she also signed away like everything that she owned to him.
Ugh.
So, like, fuck. So that is basically the situation when we get finally to
Sarah.
Sarah, who is like, no, done. Not doing this anymore. This is not okay. Everything
Right.
is bad. And she's the one who finally lets the cat out of the bag. And she was very careful in the beginning to never call it a cult. Like, she had a team of people, like, when she was doing these interviews, to never use the word cult because she knew that she was basically a target for Raniere and his people to destroy her. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
they tried to do some really horrible things to people who had left in the past, including getting them falsely arrested and locked up in Mexico and
Oh gosh.
destroying, any credibility that they had anywhere and releasing any of their secrets because part of the workshops is talking about the big bad things in your life and they used it against you. So, like, they had the
Mm.
coaches keeping notes of all the things that these people said in case they needed it in the future. It's gross, horrible, and gross. But as we know, Keith Raniere was found guilty of lots of things, including sex trafficking and child pornography and sex with a minor and all sorts of things. And he
Mm-hmm.
is in prison for hopefully forever. Happy Cookie Day when he finally goes. Allison Max went to prison for a while, but she was released recently, uh, having served half her time, maybe. I don't remember what it was. And I don't know how I feel about that. There's a lot of the great thing about the book is it goes into a lot of the weird brainwashing stuff that they did, and you're like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I I see how you slide you accidentally get into this cult to a point, and
Yeah.
then there's a place where I'm like, but
You're like, there's a
there's
line.
a line. So I don't understand it. Like, you're my bestie, you would never release anything bad about me. Like, I
Right.
wouldn't have to give you collateral to say something to tell you
No.
something. So, boy, boy.
No.
So, that is the story of the piece of shit that is Keith Raniere and NXIVM, and how everything is an MLM. So stay away. It's all bad.
That's wild. Like I just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind. It really does. Like how somebody can just have that much persuasiveness and control
Mm-hmm.
over people
Well,
to
and
suck them in like that.
like these are all, intelligent, beautiful women,
Right.
and they're falling for this guy? Like, I mean,
Right.
I don't get it.
And that's how I feel about most cult leaders.
Yeah,
Like I feel like most cult leaders are not good looking.
they
I'm
are
like,
not.
ew.
They're
What why? Ew, no. Mm. It's like they must be charismatic. They'd have to be because ew. Like what about that? Like no.
I
Not his
don't get
looks,
it.
I can tell you that.
No, well, and like the whole, like, they really play on him being like super smart and all stuff, and I'm like, I don't I don't get it. Like, I'm attracted to smart people, but I'm not attracted to people who use that as their selling point. I'm the smartest
Right.
guy in the world. Pass. It's
Like, but are you? Like,
like,
ew.
I'm gonna go with you're not. Mm.
Right. You're just like, ew.
So I don't. Anyway, time for this week's sweary affirmation, Claire.
Yes. Hit me.
Make space for the badass in you to honor the badass in others.
Nice.
That's right. All right, it is time for tarot time with April. Spooky, spooky. Ta-da!
Yay.
All right, Claire.
Yes.
Tell me when to stop.
All right.
Gosh, I didn't come across a single song in any of my reading.
Uh,
I think if there's any other random things. You sounded like a giant douchebag. Like I
100%.
am like gross. Super gross.
100%.
And there just are not a lot of guys in the story. So like other than
Like he's the only one.
occasionally there's a like there's a dad mentioned or a brother or
Right.
like a specific instance of someone, blah blah blah.
Stop.
All right. This week we have the Eight of Pentacles. And then the Six of Pentacles.
All right.
And then the Three of Pentacles. What?
All right.
The Pentacles.
It's a Pentacles kind of week.
It is a Pentacles kind of week. Let's see. Pentacles. Okay.
I don't think that's ever happened where we've had all of the same suit.
I didn't think so either. That doesn't sound. There it is. Okay. Eight of Pentacles. Oh, this is the one that we ended last week's on.
Oh, was it?
So I guess we're still finding our new job.
Okay, cool.
And
cool.
honing our craft. So cool.
Cool.
Finding our path and working our tail off to succeed. We're still working on that. Takes
Okay.
time. That's fine.
It does.
I'm fine
okay.
with it. That's good. The Six of Pentacles is our generosity card.
Okay.
So it's cool. So listening to a friend or being a kind and caring lover. So don't be Keith Raniere.
No, don't.
So that's cool. All right. So we're going to be generous. And then our Three of Pentacles is all about teamwork. It's a great card for business, friendship, and new opportunities and family issues. So that's cool. Creating something together. I'm fine with that. So doing our new stuff and then being generous and then teamwork makes the dream work. So this seems fine.
There we go.
This seems fine.
Not a bad week.
Well, I guess that's it for this week, guys.
Yes.
Stick around for next week's episode. Yeah. In which Claire will be bringing us another culty story. So definitely tune back in next week.
Yes.
But until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, subscribe, comment, share. Sharing is caring.
It is.
And you can send us any story ideas you'd like us to cover or any new topics for our wheel to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.